first item on our agenda is public comments, and I think we have a public comment tonight.
I need to sign
No, it's okay.
in. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Let me take the opportunity, first off, to say how much, as somebody who has sat there for years, your efforts are appreciated. We have some darn good people working in this building, and we have some very dedicated people, such as yourselves, who are willing to come and spend the hours, which we all know about. I can remember when my wife at 1 o'clock in the morning used to call the police and ask them if they would drive over to the high school to see if the negotiating committee was still meeting at 1 o'clock in the morning. So some of these things go a very long time.
May I just ask, what exactly was she worried about?
Well, I don't know. Maybe she thought I wasn't there. My concern is that I'm a person who likes to see the income come in as soon as we can arrange to have it do so. The item on which I just want to make some comments and possibly get some support, because the first selectman is here for this meeting as well, is the Woodbridge Country Club. Now, when we went back to getting people to vote for the bond issue, because we had the time for 3 years to see what we were going to do with it, there were some of us, and I believe the chairman was one of us, who said, you know, it's not all the golf club along there. The total package that belongs to we, the people of Woodbridge, includes land bumping right up against the right-of-way for the parkway and other land as you go in Woodfield Road that don't really have anything to do with the golf course. It was Ed's decision, and it was his to make, that what Ed said is, none of that. What we should do is get the darn thing away from the bank and the foreclosure and make sure it's in our hands rather than somebody who's at a foreclosure sale with a piece of land of that size. Okay, I'm back here again because I do believe that whatever happens, as you can all attest to, is going to take years. And I'm just the sort of person that says, you know, there are sources of income that we can get for our town, even if it means that we have to subdivide the total issues of the Woodbridge Country Club. Way back then, Matt, we were talking about the east side of Woodfield Road up against the parkway, and maybe we could have some elderly housing there with garages underneath and the rest. There are now plans that apparently have already been drawn up for 6 or 8 story buildings where the clubhouse is and all that sort of stuff. So we're talking about what we have to recognize, that's my phrase, have to recognize, is valuable property fully served by utilities that if it could be split to get some of it on the market right away, might have a far more immediate effect than what some of us have seen over the years takes many, many years to get the total package of the Woodbridge Country Club taken care of. If there was some way that you and the Board of Selectmen, or you could say to the Board of Selectmen, there's this white-haired guy that came in and talked about getting income sooner, how about the fact that we see, and Tony's got the figures, how the acreage could be set into parcels, some of which could be through zoning changes that would have to be made and other things, could be separated sooner than whatever time it takes for the town itself to make up their mind. And I still think that is a viable course for you to suggest to the first selectman sitting right there and to anybody else who listen. Even if it doesn't sell next week, the fact that you were able to put on the market land fully served by utilities that's available for development, regardless of whether ever happens to the Woodbridge Country Club, is a source of income. And in my world, the sooner you do that, try to get it done, the better. That's all I want to say. Tony has spoken a bit about this. I think there's something between 12 and 17 acres that aren't part of a country club, no matter what's decided to do with that. And if you have an inclination, I just would ask you to consider whether we could get started on zone changes and everything else, town plans, on that amount of land and get it onto the market right away. That's just it, Matt. I've said it before years ago. Thank you.
Okay. Director of Administration, Tony, budget
Yes.
status.
The budget for the fiscal year is projected a shortfall of $118,000. And there are some new items on here. That would be our fund balance at 9.06%. And I wanted to, and that's a budgetary fund balance, a budgetary shortfall. So what that means is that's over and above our planned $400,000 contribution. And a couple of items to note that are noteworthy. In government or governmental revenue, we received a surplus in revenue sharing funds from the state. It's about $15,000 higher than we anticipated. We also received an additional $120,000 in town road aid from the state than we had budgeted. We budgeted about $120 and received approximately $240. So, and as you know, we spend in town paving, which is what that's for, about $700,000. So, some towns spend what they get in town road aid, and so to some towns it was meant to increase their paving. The second is in charge for services, and we have a shortfall predicted or projected anyway from Billy Casper for this year in operations of $308,000, and that's a as of October, the end of October, and it's using last year as a guide in terms of weather and activity, and so it takes the first 3 or 4 months of the year, which were better than the previous year, and then sort of uses the remaining months as a guide to project where they think the shortfall conservatively would be at the end of this year. So we're going to update that monthly and keep on top of that.
So this is
for
for
you.
June 30th, 14?
For June 30th of 14, correct. And expenditures are pretty close to budget. There's really not many swings at this point either way that are large. We've talked about this before, but we have a slight shortfall in workers' compensation of $50,000, which would be offset by a surplus in healthcare of about $90,000. So there's actually a surplus in benefits this year. So those are the major items for our operating budget.
Any questions or comments? Clearly, the country club is something we have to take a long time to look at.
And so that 308.
Is that you?
Country club that's for this fiscal year, that's for 14.
Through June of
excuse
14.
me.
Assuming we continue
Right.
operating as we are.
Along the current path, right.
Right.
Correct.
And that's
Which I
in
guess there's some-
addition to the shortfall from 13.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's just-
So the shortfall from 13 was
it's a
3,
mathematical
was 4.
progression. Yeah.
Right.
Just seems to be going on and on and on.
Yeah, so some decisions have to be made, sir. I know you're all over it, Alan.
Indeed.
Indeed, that's a good one. Okay, so more to come on that.
Mhm.
FY13 audit status, Tony?
We have a draft that we received a few days ago.
Okay.
So that's actually much earlier than previous years. And so we just have to do, I just have to do the letter in the management letter and some of the letters and statistical sections that finish the audit.
Okay,
And then we should be complete.
okay, good.
There's nothing of consequence or worth reporting other than the usual information.
And,
So we'll have Scott in as we usually do in January
One of
when the
our-
audit's
one of our
completed to
joint
review it.
meetings.
Yep.
and we have in our package the through September, their financial report from Billy Casper.
Right, so if you go to the third page, which is the balance sheet, there's some good information on this page. This is through September, by the way. And you can see under stockholders' equity, which is essentially at the bottom, it has retained earnings, which is all the retained earnings from prior to July 1 of this year. So that would be the previous fiscal year and the short stub period before that. And then the loss, the net income so far for this year, both of which are losses. So it gives you, this is a cumulative snapshot of the entire operation. It just gives you the liabilities, the payroll, accrued payroll, the inventory. It's a pretty good snapshot of where they are. Okay.
And then you have the Board of Ed financial report, which I don't like to say too much about because Sandy will speak of this, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay. That's looking pretty good, I guess.
Yep, it is.
Okay. A reminder that we have two capital budget meetings right here, Tuesday, December 3rd and Thursday, December 5th at 6 o'clock. Correct? Okay. And I don't know if you guys downloaded it or you have a book or whatever, I guess we have a book.
We have several options this year,
Yeah.
or both, if preferred.
Okay.
You're ready.
No, I'm returning my
Oh.
books from last year. They can be recycled.
Okay, we have, I believe, two funding requests. The first is a request for funding from our contingency to town planning and zoning for the plan of conservation and development, which, refresh my memory, who's doing it?
Malone
Malone
McBroom.
McBroom, yeah.
And we had $10,000 in the budget. And so the work for this fiscal year is $15,000.
Do you know what the total cost is gonna be?
Remember,
All together.
75.
About 75,000. I'm not sure it's exactly 75.
Then approximately, yeah. So the remainder of it would be in the budget process for next year.
Okay, I'll move acceptance of request for funding 1314-09 in the amount of $5,000.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. And next we have a line item transfer of 13.7 to fund increases to town council, board of selectmen labor negotiations, and police labor negotiations. A total of 13,700. And I'll move acceptance of, again, these were things that were approved
These
after
were
the budget. went
contractual,
through.
right, that were approved after the budget,
Approved
right?
by- Yeah, right, so, this is just to fund those line items.
Right.
Second.
Okay, I made the motion, Andy seconded. Any further comments, questions? All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Next is approval of minutes. This is from our monthly meeting of October the 17th. Actually, this was, the Board of Selectmen were here also to hear about the Board of Ed plan. So I'll move acceptance of the minutes of the Board of Finance meeting for October 17th as presented.
Second.
Any adjustments, corrections, et cetera? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay. proposed meeting dates. I think this is an FYI, Karen, or you need a motion? Need a motion? Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the proposed meeting dates for 2014 as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
First selectmen's report, Ellen.
Thank you. First item on the report is an update on the Country Club of Woodbridge. Obviously, everyone is concerned about the numbers. I want to tell you that the Board of Selectmen met in executive session to talk about negotiations with Billy Casper Golf, and that's kind of the short-term issue of the golf club. Obviously, I can't discuss it, but we are certainly looking at it. On the longer term, you know, we've had the 2 community conversations with about 250 people, and it worked out very well with Malone and McBroom, the consultants for the Plan of Conservation and Development. They have included in their proposal and in the price we just discussed an expedited analysis of the Country Club of Woodbridge property. They will analyze all the reports that have already been done. They'll do topographical studies of the site and report back to us opportunities, constraints, and what options they think are viable for the property. And they will also help us draft an RFP once we feel we've come to consensus about the vision for the town so that we can incorporate it into the RFP. So I am reasonably optimistic that this can move pretty quickly. They thought they would report back to us in January. So I hope that we'll move pretty fast after that to an RFP. Because we did get very good information from the community conversations. So I think we all agree with Michael Luther that speed is of the essence as long as we do it carefully and thoughtfully. A couple of other things. I don't know if you're all aware, there was a 3-alarm house fire on November 9th on Coachman's Lane, which pretty much destroyed the house, although a portion of it was saved. Our firefighters did an amazing job, and we had mutual aid from Bethany, Orange, Prospect, and Seymour. I got there at the end. The fire was pretty much out except for some smoldering spots, and it really struck me what the logistical challenges. I mean, not just the firefighting, but having all the firefighters there and bringing the water to the site. There are no hydrants. It was very impressive, and the firemen did a great job. The families were back at the firehouse preparing sandwiches and getting food up there. So it was a real testament to the efforts of the fire department and their families. The other this is big news on the very good side. We received a $660,000 federal grant, not to the town, but to a consortium for the removal of the Pond Lily Dam. And that's something that the West River Committee has been working on for a very, very long time. Buddy DeGennaro and Frank DeLeo led the effort with a committee down there. There was tremendous cooperation between New Haven and Woodbridge and environmental groups, the homeowners, and this amount will actually enable the entire removal of the dam. So, and Rosa DeLauro worked very hard to get the money for us. So that was great. And it should have a very significant impact on the flooding. Not 100%, but a big change. Veterans Day ceremony, Barry Joseph was kind enough to step in for Joe, who was away. I was surprised that Joe let Barry do it, but Barry was great. It was a very moving ceremony and well attended. And Beecher Road School had its own ceremony, which was I think very interesting for the children. And there was school. Unlike most years, they did have school on Veterans Day, but it was a day of learning about Veterans Day. So that was terrific. As many of you know, Beecher Road School Building Committee presented its proposal last night. Andy is a member of that committee. They have been working day and night, really. So many meetings, so many hours, and I would say it was a very successful presentation. Didn't you think, Andy?
It was definitely a successful presentation.
Yeah, I think it was clear what the need was and what the proposal was, and Tony did a terrific job so people could understand the costs. And we're just talking now about what the next steps are if the boards need additional information before taking the next steps, if there's any more public information. So we should make that decision pretty soon about next steps. And the final thing I wanted to remind everyone is that on December 4th at 6 o'clock, we have Tom Hennick from the Freedom of Information Commission coming to speak here at Town Hall. All of the boards and commissions have been invited. I think it's particularly important for chairs to attend, but any board members are welcome. The Freedom of Information rules are not intuitive. It's very, in fact, sometimes just the opposite is where common sense would take you. So I think the more times we have an opportunity to learn about it and comply, it's really beneficial for all of us. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, speaking, I attended the meeting last night, and I think I complained when they made the presentation to us that it was not well done, and the information, and I thought last night they had a film, a presentation, they had teachers, they had Guy Stella, and I thought a 10,000% better presentation.
Well, your constructive criticism helped.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yes,
I thought
it
it
did.
was. I
It
thought
did,
it-
actually.
I mean, if you watch that film,
It did a
you know,
lot, yeah.
and you see the infrared pictures, and you see the kids, and you see the teachers, and the noise, and the roof, and it establishes the need. I
Right.
mean, clearly it
It's a
established the need.
compelling case.
It was. It was. I thought it was. That's what you
I
need.
think we captured the scope.
Yeah.
I think before the presentations were too narrow.
Yes.
And now the revised presentation was really able to capture the scope and magnitude of this project.
Right.
And so it was more than just 2 boilers or 3 boilers.
Yes.
And so it's, and that they were able to very effectively project that on the screen, and John Rice did a very
Did an
excellent
excellent
job.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think it
So
was,
when Ellen said, you know,
And
where do we go
Ellen's
from here?
presentation.
I don't think we need to hear it again. I think we've all heard it 3 or 4 times. I think it's time to bring it on. Let's see, you know, I really do. I think, you know, I can't imagine you should have any more presentations. I think everybody got a card if they wanted to
Yes,
come.
they did.
Now it's a question of, let's put it out to referendum. I think they're ready to
Yeah.
go with it. It's been ongoing long enough, so.
That's very, very helpful input.
Yeah, well, I think you have to, I mean, again, the need is there. It's not cheap, and as Tony said, it puts a dent in our debt, but, you know, the building is old.
but that's our, you know, again, but this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
We're the
Right.
caretakers of our
Right.
infrastructure.
Right.
You know, it's our job to see to it, we maintain it, develop it. And especially, it's not only there, that's a community center, it's
Right.
not just a school.
Yep.
And we have a responsibility to see to that the environment those children and those teachers work in is a healthy environment.
Yep.
So it's really, you know, so we have 2 responsibilities there, and I think that we fulfill that responsibility, and when this facility gets a new life over that 15, 20, 22, 25-year period. And when they want to build a new school, Matthew, you and I are not going to.
We're not gonna be around. We're not gonna be around.
They're still going to call you back to be on the committee, so no matter where you are.
If we're still living in Woodbridge, it'll be down at the Willows. So.
We're on South Beach Road.
Okay, liaison report. Amity met on November 11th. Nothing earth-shattering, 2 things though of interest, I believe. They're currently operating at about a $231,000 surplus, which changes every month, depending on a lot of it is special ed, teachers leaving, hiring new teachers, but currently it's at about 231, which is a good thing, surplus. The other interesting thing to all of us, as we've talked about, is the average daily membership, or the number of students that we are responsible for of the total, which dictates our percentage. And I'd say it's good news, but we went down by 2 this year. We went from 710 to 708. For the first time, and as long as I can remember, Orange went down from 1181 to 1163, or a net loss of 18. And Bethany, for the first time in a long time, went up from 474 to 492. So basically what it means is Bethany's share will go up, ours will go down somewhat, and Orange's will go down somewhat.
Is our percentage actually go down?
Our percentage was 30.021. It'll now be 29.962.
Excellent.
So yeah, somehow or another, we have 2 less students in there, so that will help with the budget. So
Money.
those are the only things I would report to you. And again, the amazing, I'll just mention, there's nothing. The audit, we've had this guy Rob Howard on it. He's been the partner in charge for as long as this firm has been. A great guy, a nice guy, and he was killed on a motorcycle. couldn't believe it. I mean, I got an email from Mike Nast or whatever. He's a motorcycle enthusiast. I don't think he was a crazy man. He just happened to be, I don't know. I couldn't find anything out if he got hit by a car or whatever, but he died. And, so we got a new person involved, and he's been coming for a little. And nice guy. God, I was totally shocked by it. So
What's
yeah.
the firm that they use?
Oh, geez.
It's not.
It used to be a firm. They got sold out though to another firm, so I'm not quite sure. I think I have it here. Hold on a second. Yeah, here it is. It's I don't know what's on here.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it's I don't recognize the name. Oh, yeah, here it is. It is now Mahoney Sabal and Company in Glastonbury. They were bought out by somebody, but she mentions here about Rob. So yeah, it was shocking. Nice guy. Michael.
They meet on this coming Monday.
Okay.
Get changed from this past Monday to next Monday.
Okay. Do you have any, Karen?
The EMS is meeting next Monday, and Youth Services held a successful costume party. After school program's going well. There's a new parent support group meeting Friday morning for parents of high school students, which is currently filling a need, and the first meeting went actually very well. I think Thanksgiving baskets will be distributed on the 26th, and the senior fair held on 11/2 raised $1,964, almost $500 more than last year. So they had a successful senior holiday fair, and they continue to look for creative ideas for programming. So all's well at Human Resources.
I think I saw something in the paper. It's a program that Mary Ellen had mentioned us. It's called Adopt a Family. If anyone's interested, it's more for you give X number of dollars and you sponsor a family for the holidays. They make a basket up for them. It's a really good program. So I'm sure if you call Human Services, they'll tell you more about it. But it's really a good program. So something to look into. Andrew.
The police commission's meeting was postponed, and I did not attend the golf meeting because I had a conflict at another meeting.
Busy guy. David.
I attended the rec commission meeting on October 28th. There was not a quorum, so it was over pretty quickly and nothing of significance.
So the Woodbridge Board of Ed Finance Committee met, and it was actually a record meeting in terms of its brevity. Everything seems to be going well. They have about a $42,000 surplus that they're projecting for the end of the year. We talked briefly about the budget. That's something that Dr. Stone and Al Pulo will be working on. We urge them to really look at classroom size. And so that's something that they will take a very careful look at in terms of, they had to add teachers this year, another kindergarten class, and to look at kind of what the ripple effects are for the coming years in terms of staff that are needed. The Library Commission met, and basically Todd was very pleased to share that the Bethany Town Library is now online with Lion, which is great for them. And they're still in negotiations with Hamden, but are hopeful that Hamden will also join. That represents a big resource and a redistribution of funding, and it would be a really good acquisition for them. The library is also putting in a fax line downstairs. Apparently there's a lot of interest in doing this. I was quite surprised because we don't use fax much.
Me too.
I was quite surprised.
It was like, wow. But a lot of people don't necessarily know how to scan, or they don't have computers, and their only way to actually get a piece of information to another location is through fax. So they're going to respond to those requests.
So you can have a telegraph line put in too?
No, Morse code.
Right. We can make that suggestion, David. Good one.
Very good.
There are also two new large databases that are now available through the website for the library. One is called Xenio, and it's a periodicals database. So it really expands what the patrons can actually access online without going to the library to look at a particular journal. And the second one is called Access 360, and that also can be accessed through the library's homepage. And people should, use that. You do need to have a library card, and you put in your card number. And that one is just for Woodbridge residents.
And what's on it, Tammy?
Actually, it is, it's digital media, so it's not just the journals, but it's other kind of digital publications that you can access. So I have not gone on and tried it, but it's worthwhile to kind of just click on their website and browse around. Todd is also working with Dr. Stella about licensing some language learning databases that would be beneficial to the students to be able to learn other languages, and for library patrons to actually learn languages but also help in terms of learning English. So he's pursuing that, and he's pretty confident that they'll be able to work something out. And there was one issue that came up about non-library groups using the community room, and that extending beyond the operational hours of the library, and how can we accommodate that, because right now there is no support for closing down the library after hours. So the commission did actually give the director the authority to basically communicate to the non-library groups that they do have to contain their functions to the hours of the library through the end of the year. And so he was pleased to be able to do that. Otherwise, someone has to be called in, or someone from the library actually has to stay to be able to close the library down. And that's it.
Okay. Anything else, anybody? No? Happy anniversary to Joe. That's why he couldn't make the
I know.
Veterans Day
Yes,
ceremony.
that's
What, your
true.
75th anniversary?
It's a good thing we're on camera, because I'd whack you before the flash.
What, Ms. Gales, was her, what, 49th? Yours was...
I hope she's not watching this.
No, not you. I'm talking Gales. Gales.
I know, but I hope she's not.
Well, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and especially our 2 new grandchildren.
Yes. That's good
Their
news.
first Thanksgiving, and we'll see you on December 3rd. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Take care. Have a good holiday.